Welcome back to another edition of Wednesday Night Live. We are so glad that you are here, and we hope that this video is fun, entertaining, and an opportunity for you to grow with the group that you are watching with. Let's jump right into this week's video.
Well, welcome once again to Pomona Christian's Readers Theater. I have to say, I'm incredibly excited about today's story. If you like wild and crazy stories that sometimes you wonder why they're in the Bible, then today we have a story for you. This comes from the book of Judges. In chapter 4, we're going to read the story of Deborah. And man, this one is exciting. So buckle up as we jump into Deborah's story. It starts this way. After Ehud died, the Israelites once again did evil in the eyes of the Lord. So the Lord sold them into the hands of Jabin, a king of Canaan who reigned in Hazor. The commander of his army was Sisera, who lived in Harosheth Hagoyim. And because he had 900 iron chariots and had cruelly oppressed the Israelites for 20 years, they cried out to the Lord for help. Deborah, a prophetess, the wife of Lapidoth, was leading Israel at this time. She held court under the palm of Deborah between Ramah and Bethel in the hill country of Ephraim. And the Israelites came to her to have their disputes decided. She sent for Barak, son of Abinoam, from Kadesh and Naphtali, and said to him, "The Lord, the God of Israel, commands you, go, take with you 10,000 men of Naphtali and Zebulun, and lead the way to Mount Tabor. I will lure Sisera, the commander of Jabin's army, with his chariots and his troops to the Kishon River, and give him into your hands." Barak said to her, "If you go with me, I will go, but if you do not go with me, I won't go." "Very well," Deborah said, "I will go with you, but because of the way you are going about this, the honor will not be yours. For the Lord will hand Sisera over to a woman." So Deborah went with Barak of Kadesh, where he summoned Zebulun and Naphtali. 10,000 men followed him, and Deborah went with him. Now Heber the Kenite had left the other Kenites, the descendants of Hobab, Moses' brother-in-law, and pitched his tent by the great tree in Zanim near Kadesh. When they told Sisera that Barak of Abinoam had gone up to Mount Tabor, Sisera gathered together his 900 iron chariots and all the men with him, from Harosheth Hagoyim to the Kishon River. Then Deborah said to Barak, "Go, this is the day the Lord has given Sisera into your hands. Has not the Lord gone ahead of you?" So Barak went down Mount Tabor, followed by 10,000 men. At Barak's advance, the Lord routed Sisera and all his chariots and army by the sword, and Sisera abandoned his chariots and fled on foot. But Barak pursued the chariots and army as far as Harosheth Hagoyim. All the troops of Sisera fell by the sword. Not a man was left. Sisera, however, fled on foot to the tent of Jael, the wife of Heber the Kenite, because there were friendly relations between Jabin, king of Hazor, and the clan of Heber the Kenite. Jael went out to meet Sisera and said to him, "Come, my lord, come right in. Don't be afraid." She entered her tent and she put a covering over him. "I'm thirsty," he said. "Please give me some water." She opened a skin of milk and gave it to him, and gave him a drink, and covered him up. "Stand in the doorway of the tent," He told her, "If anyone comes by and asks you, 'Is anyone here?' say no." But Jael, Heber's wife, picked up a tent peg and a hammer and went quietly to him while he fell asleep, exhausted. She drove the peg through his temple into the ground, and he died. Barak came by in pursuit of Sisera, and Jael went out to meet him. "Come," she said, "I will show you the man you're looking for." So he went in with her, and there lay Sisera with the tent peg through his temple, dead. On that day, God subdued Jabin, the Canaanite king, before the Israelites, and the hand of the Israelites grew stronger and stronger against Jabin, the Canaanite king, until they destroyed him. Wow, what a story. Be sure you discuss all the questions you have about that one with your family. Thanks, everyone. This has been another edition of Pomona Christian's Reader's Theater.
Welcome to another Taylor and Veronica Wild Adventure.
Today we're going to visit our friends Chloe and Leah.
Today's story is about Deborah, and let's see what the questions the girls have for Marcus.
And make sure to come back next week for our very last wild adventure. Family. I'm here with Leah and Chloe, and they have a few questions on the story of Deborah for Marcus. So who wants to go first? Chloe, you have a couple questions?
Why did Barak refuse to go to battle without Deborah, and how would she be helpful in battle?
Good questions. Leah?
Why did Jael give fake milk instead of water? Why did God say he would bring Sarah's army to the river kingdom?
Very good questions for Marcus. You guys think he's going to know the answers? Maybe. No. All right, we'll see.
All right. 3, 2, 1.
No cheating, guys.
If I throw it up with my face and catch it.
You can do that.
Okay. It's stuck on my eye. I don't know what to do.
If I bite you on accident.
No biting. I feel like
It's on my cheek. I don't know what to do.
You're so close.
You're so close.
Get it over your mustache.
All right.
I have it on my eyeball. Oh no, what is that? It's on my head. I think it's on my temple.
So close.
Oh my god.
All right, here we go. Oh, Troy.
All right, well, here we are with our lesson time, and one of the more interesting stories in the book of Judges is the story of Deborah. And again, she was ruling here, and what that meant, she was judging. She would settle the disputes, and in the cycle of judges, often they would disobey, and then God would have them oppressed by another nation. In this case, it's Sisera, and that goes on, and then the Israelites repent, and then God raises up a deliverer who saves them. And so Deborah, ruling, tells this man Barak that he is to go and lead the Israelite army, and the Lord will lure Sisera and his army into a trap near the Kishon River. Now, one of the things that Sisera had that made him tough to defeat were all his chariots. And so it was very hard for the Israelites just to fight back. But the Lord speaks to Deborah, and Deborah tells Barak to go into battle. But then he says this in verse 8 of Judges chapter 4. It says, Barak said to her, if you go with me, I will go. But if you don't go with me, I won't go. Very well, Deborah said. I will go with you, but because of the way you are going about this, the honor will not be yours, for the Lord will hand Sisera over to a woman. So Deborah went with Barak to Kedesh, where he summoned Zebulun and Naphtali. 10,000 men followed him, and Deborah also went with him. So he received this order to go with the army, but he says, I'll go, but only if, and he puts his conditions on it. And so Deborah says, well, because of the way you're going about this, the honor will go to a woman, and that is the capture and the killing of Sisera, who had oppressed them, this other army that had been attacking them for so long. And so the honor goes to a woman named Jael, who after it says that the men were routed and they kind of ran away, that Sisera goes to her tent and asks for help, and he asks for water, she gives him milk, and he falls asleep because he's been exhausted, and then she gives him a splitting headache with a tent peg. That's a joke. I'll wait for the laughter to die down here. Okay. So the honor goes to Jael for taking care of Sisera. And so I think that's a good lesson. God was wanting Barak to lead, was wanting him, in essence, to be the deliverer, but he didn't trust what God said. He said, I'll only go if Deborah comes with me. And I think that's because he had a lot of confidence in Deborah, knew the people had confidence, but he was putting his faith also in her presence as more than just trusting in what God had said to do and being obedient. A lot of times we see that in Scripture where God says to do something and people just do it. But in this case, Barak says, hey, I'll do what you say, but I'm going to do it my way. I'll only do it. And that's the key. He says, I'll only do it if this is how it happens. He doesn't ask. He just says, I'll only do it if this is what happens. So it's a reminder of us to just obey what God says. Don't put our conditions on it, but to trust fully in what He is doing in our lives. And I did have some questions from the Stevens girls about this. One was, why did Barak refuse to go without Deborah? And I think it's just Deborah was respected. She was the one who was kind of leading over Israel. They would go to her for her disputes, so it gave him confidence. And that's one of the problems, is he was putting his confidence in her. As a great person as she was, he was putting his confidence in her and not just trusting God in what he said to do. How would she be helpful? I think kind of the same thing, that the people, instead of just having to look at him, Barak, he thought maybe they'd be more inclined to follow faithfully if she was there too. But God was already in control and already had the plans for everything. Milk instead of water, that's the question. Why did Jael give him milk when he asked for water? And we really don't know. It doesn't say. Maybe that's what she had on hand, but he asked for water, which is kind of the minimum, and she gives him something even better, and that's milk, which would have been much more valuable. And so maybe that helped him put his guard down. If she went the extra mile and gave him milk, maybe he felt even safer and could take a nap. And then the last one is, why did God lead the army, set everything up at the Kishon River? And that's up in northern Israel. And I had to look that up on the map, and that's near where all these events take place. It's near where Sisera who was from Hazor. That's where that area is, so it's probably just a good place where the chariots could be trapped and maybe not get across the river, and they couldn't move, and so they could kind of be pinned in. And so that's probably why the trap is set up there, where they're lured in there. But there's probably no significance to it being the Kishon River. It probably just happens to be the river in that area. And so I appreciate you guys tuning in for today, and hope you have a great night.
So much for tuning in to this week's version of Wednesday Night Live. We are so thankful that you have joined us this fall to go through different stories of the Old Testament, and we hope that they've been fun and a way for you to grow together with the people that you are watching with. Make sure to come back next week for our final edition of Wednesday Night Live. We'll see you soon.